guys, Nick here with Taco Jeep Adventures, doing another install today. I'm going to be installing the RCI aluminum fuel tank skid plate today. So currently running their sliders, their front lower control arm, engine skid. I've got their diff skid on here. Just trying to wrap up finishing some of the protective measures underneath the truck as we get into more rock crawling as of late. There's definitely some sport model. This is an off-road model. The sport, I've seen some videos on YouTube. I know there's some CBI stuff, but that's not what this video is about, so I won't get into that. But nonetheless, wanted to create something for RCI specific fuel tank skid for the off-road truck. And from what I'm seeing, I mean, no directions came with this, but it seems pretty straightforward. The sport doesn't have the factory skid, the off-road does. So I'll give you guys, if you've got an off-road, you'll see that. So I'll give a look under the truck and then I'll go over the tools needed to do the job. So let's get started. Alright guys, here's the tools I have for the job. Not all of this is necessary, right? Like this is a pretty light skid plate based on the flimsy factory one that's in there. I'm pretty sure that's light. I'm just going to use this to stabilize and hold in place. That may end up being more fuss than needed, but I do have the floor jack there with a board. I've already checked these. The hardware are 13 mil, right? So if you've got a socket, that'll work. Extra tools, if you've got them, not necessary. I may or may not even need those. But nonetheless, here's the skid plate. Like all other RCI products, it's fantastic. I mean, if you've seen in person any of the RCI work, it's all very good. So let's get under the truck. All right, guys, here's a view of the factory skid. Goes all the way back just before the axle there. You can see right here are the straps, right? Which, if you've got a sport model, you'll likely see these as well. You will not see this. Here's your two bolts on this side, right? Pretty straightforward. There's two on the rear. I'm gonna just support that while I undo them. But again, this is pretty flimsy. So this should not be heavy. You shouldn't have to worry about this falling on you, knocking your teeth out or anything like that. So let me go ahead and knock that out and we'll be back. As you can see here, factory one is off, very light, very easy to remove. One thing to note, these are 12 mil, right? So when I had laid out the tools, I had called out the 13, which works with the replacement hardware that RCI provides with their skid plate. Note, factory is 12 mil. Also note, if it's an RCI product, they've got install guides on their website, and all of their directions from the products I've installed have been pretty sound. So quickly looking, here's the tank, right, without the factory plate on it. So for off-road and pro models, this would be the next step, right? So you've got your factory studs hanging through. I'm gonna get the skid plate in place and by hand slip the, I believe it's a 5/16 washer, and lock nut into place, just, you know, loosely to get everything in place, and then I'll go ahead and tighten down and give you guys a glimpse of what that looks like when it's complete. One thing to note, you'll see back here towards the rear axle, there's like an indentation here that kind of curves in away from the third member here. If you look at the skid plate right next to me, you'll see that shape here. My assumption is that's going to go back there. That front lip that kind of curves up is going to go in front of the fuel tank, which goes towards the front of the vehicle, which makes sense. If you're approaching something, that slope would guide you under the fuel tank and not into it. All right, guys, so here we have it. I mean, overall install wasn't too bad. It's kind of a little tricky because when you push this up into plate, you don't really have enough room to get the washer on and get the nut to bite. So you're gonna have to apply a lot of pressure on the bottom of this to get the stud, the threads, to come down far enough to get that to bite, and you're gonna have to keep that pressure on there while you get this to turn a couple times. Otherwise it's just gonna want to strip and pull it down. So that's what I found. I just had to kind of get a couple of them that I could in place to hold it, and I didn't use the floor jack. Honestly, it was just easier to use my knees and elbows and whatever. You guys will have to figure out what's best for you, but nonetheless, I did that, got some on there, and then the ones that were kind of not really sticking down very far, I just had to push really hard on this to get them to. And then, as per RCI's direction, you want to hand tighten these and not over torque them. They call that out pretty boldly, so I kind of went to where it's flush and felt pretty snug by hand. I mean, it's on there. And obviously, periodic check. It's always good to look over your vehicle, make sure everything's still looking good and being maintained appropriately, so that'll be part of my routine. But anyways, definitely recommend, guys. RCA makes some pretty awesome products. There's their diff skid. I know it's not what this video is about. I'm laying under their sliders, as you can see up front. I've got their armor here. Still got to get 2 more pieces, right? Transfer case, transmission skids, and I'm done for the most part. Anyways, that's about a wrap, guys. I hope, as I'm laying under my truck here, you guys enjoyed the video. Hope this was helpful. Definitely throw some of these in. If you guys have any questions, you know, happy to break down anything else you see on the rig that you might have questions on. Also planning on doing a full walk around here soon. Need to do that. But nonetheless, take care, guys. Hope this was helpful. Until next time, be well.